In previous lecture, we talked about watchers in Vue, and we found out that they are basically used to monitor data changes on a given attribute and accordingly act on other data points that we have or call a function. So in a way, with watchers, we have a generic way to observe and react to data changes. Now, what happens is you might be tempted to overuse this watcher. For instance, over here, you can see that I've introduced 3 new data points: first name, last name, and full name. And what it does is we'll be defining a watcher on first name and last name, and we'll be updating the full name accordingly. So if I go ahead over here in my watch block, and I'll be introducing first name as a function, and then I'll have this text that's being entered. Inside this, I'll be actually updating the full name, and full name will be the text that's entered by the user. Then we'll separate it with a space, and then we'll add the last name to it. And after that, I'll be doing the same thing with last name as well. So I'll say last name function, and then I'll have this text inside it as a parameter. It will be a colon as a separator, and here I'll be saying this dot full name as this dot first name plus the text that's entered by the user. We don't need a semicolon over here. So that's what we are doing. So whenever a first name is changing, we are adding that with the last name and showing it as a full name. With last name as well, we are doing the same thing. But here, if you take a closer look, we are doing repetition. So this code block that you see over here is repetitive in nature. And what we can do is we can simplify this by not making use of watchers over here. Rather than that, we can make use of a computed function. So here I'll be going with a computed function in this way. I'll just write full name, and it will be a function which will concatenate both these data points, that's first name as well as the last name. And we don't even need this data point as last name because we have a computed property defined. So if you see for yourself, you will find that the repetition has gone when we are making use of a computed property, and the code is much more readable. So that's one thing one should be taking care of when deciding on whether to go for a watcher or for a computed property. And here you can see the output coming up for full name. We have made use of the computed property full name, and that's the output over here. In the next lecture, we'll be covering computed getter and setters as well.